Throwback Thursday here on Campus Insiders. Today we're rewinding the career of one of the greatest NBA players and possibly a five-time NBA champion in Tim Duncan. In the time machine with us, the man that coached Duncan at Wake Forest, Dave Odom, and the man who called the games during his senior year, voice of the Deacons, Stan Cotton. Gentlemen, in this day and age, Duncan would be considered a rarity. He was the player of the year who stayed all 4 years at Wake Forest. Coach, is he the best college player you ever saw?
Well, let's not forget that he came up in the ACC, and there was some great ones before him. Ralph Sampson at Virginia, which I had a chance to coach, and Michael Jordan and his friends over at North Carolina, and there were some others. But he certainly ranks right up there with the very best of them, and certainly was a pleasure to coach from my vantage point, and certainly a blessing for all of Wake Forest fans.
I'll add to this. I'll say that he's the best player I've seen in person, and that includes Chris Paul, Josh Howard, some other greats at Wake Forest. And I didn't have the luxury of seeing some of the players in this league that Coach Odom did, but for my money, Tim Duncan is the very best.
Coach, the story about Duncan is he only began playing basketball after a hurricane destroyed the public swimming pool. What were your initial impressions watching him, and what about him stood out to you so much?
Well, I think the story about the swimming pool is probably true, and I know it's true. And to be quite honest, when I saw him play for the very first time, I said, you know, he is going to be a very good ACC player, but I think he'll be down the road. He'll probably be a good first-year redshirt.
Stan, what impressed you about him that stood out to you on the court from him watching him that senior year?
Well, he was so good. By the time he was a senior, he had obviously been well coached. I'll give a tip of the cap to Coach Odom and his staff, but he was so good at every phase of the game, and as Coach mentioned earlier, he worked so hard. He was just ready to play every night. I don't think I ever saw him have a bad game. He was just one of those guys you could count on each and every night to give you his very best, and Tim Duncan's best was pretty darn good.
Tim Duncan has built a reputation for almost being a humble hero in some regards, the quiet superstar. Coach, what do you remember about this young man off the court during practice, and is there a side of Duncan that we don't see?
Well, you know, I think what you see is what you get. He's a very private person. He has a very good, close, loyal circle of friends that he confides in, he talks to, and that he enjoys. But I don't think there's anything that's a secret about Tim Duncan. He is very, very focused. He is very determined to be the best he can be in whatever endeavor there might be. Basketball is his number one priority besides his family, and you know, he's just always been a joy to be around and to coach.
Stan, would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't claim to know Tim nearly as well as Coach Odom, but I think that's what he said is absolutely correct. What you see is what you get. There, you know, Tim Duncan is not trying to be anything he's not. He is who he is. He likes to stay away from the limelight if he can. It's hard to do that when you're one of the planet's best players, but he is what he is, and he is Tim Duncan.
Well, let's have a little fun here with this final question, sort of a what if. Coach, if Duncan couldn't play basketball, would be doing something else in his career, what do you think it'd be?
Well, you know, one thing that people might not know about him is that he was a psychology major. And, you know, sometimes during the 4 years of his career at Wake Forest, you know, I was coaching him, and sometimes I felt like he was coaching me. You know, he's a psychology guy, and he kind of played me for whatever he wanted at the time, or if he was trying to get a message across to me, you know, he was playing me or coaching me, if you will, as opposed to me coaching him.
All right, interesting. Thanks to you both for the perspective. Dave Odom and Stan Cotton, we appreciate you taking some time with us today. Duncan prevailed in the 90s, but is this the year Taj Boyd takes over in football? Don't miss our ACC preview only on CampusInsiders.com.